In this episode, we talk about the acceptance and implementation of a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. We also talk about a massive fire that broke out at the Mahakumbh Mela. But first, we talk about Saif Ali Khan being stabbed in his own house. Hi, I am Niharika Nanda, and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. In the early hours of 16th January, Bollywood actor Saif Ali Khan was stabbed multiple times, allegedly during a scuffle with an intruder who entered the actor's apartment. Khan was rushed to the Lilavati hospital in Mumbai where he underwent surgery and is said to be out of danger. Doctors said that a sharp object had been lodged in Khan's thoracic spine and that they successfully removed it. Initial comments by the police indicated that it was a burglary attempt.
एक एक्यूज एक्टर के घर पे गया था, ऐसा इन्वेस्टिगेशन में पता चला है. एक्यूज फायर एस्केप का यूज करके इनके घर पे गया था, ये भी पता चला है. अभी तक के इन्वेस्टिगेशन में ये एक चोरी का अटेम्प्ट था, ऐसा हमारे इन्वेस्टिगेशन में निष्पन्न हुआ है. एक्यूज्ड को जल्दी अरेस्ट करने की कोशिश हमारी चल रही है और एक बार एक्यूज्ड अरेस्ट.
Yesterday, the accused was arrested by the police from a mangrove forest in Thane. To understand what happened on 16th January and what is the current status of Saif Ali Khan's health and the case, we have the Indian Express's Mohammad Thawar joining us. Mohammad, from the information that is available as of now, what was the course of events of the night when the incident happened?
So the clarity that we have at this stage is that, there were around 7 people inside Saif Ali Khan's house. They own the 11th and 12th floors in the building. And around 2 a.m., there is this person who is seen entering the building, although later on we got his CCTV image. So this person enters the building on foot. It is suspected that he jumped over from an adjacent building, gets into this building, climbs up 9 floors of stairs. Then he walks. Basically, there's a shaft, like there's a very small shaft linked to right next to the staircase. So on the 10th floor, there was no netting that separated the two areas. So he just jumped off the stairs into the shaft. Through the shaft, he climbs up and then he enters the bathroom of Jahangir's room. As he enters, one of the maids in the house, she suspects that she saw somebody. She goes there. He's out there. He has a chopper in a hand and a stick. And she's worried that he's going to harm Jay. So as she tries to enter, he stops her. She asks him, "Kya chahiye?" So he says, "Paisa chahiye, 1 crore rupiya chahiye." In the meantime, as she's talking to him, another maid who has also seen this guy, she gets very scared, runs off shouting, which wakes up Saif Ali Khan and Kareena, who are in the other room. Then they wake up and looking at this guy, when Saif saw that this guy is in Jahangir's room, he got a bit scared, thinking, that he may cause his son some harm. At that point, he kind of jumped on this guy and there was a scuffle that broke out in which this guy stabbed him 6 times. In the meantime, they managed to push him inside the room, pulled Jahangir out, locked him in that room, and they all ran on the 12th floor. So this was the sequence of events. But what, however, the police suspect actually happened is that even though they felt that they had locked him, they forgot to latch him because obviously there was a lot of blood flow and there was panic and their priority would have been to, ensure that nobody else is hurt. So as the family rushed on the 12th floor, this guy, the police suspect, walked out of the bedroom, the main door, took the stairs again and just fled from there.
Right. And tell us the condition in which Saif Ali Khan had reached the hospital and what is the status of his health currently?
Yeah, so Saif had a part of the knife, lodged in his spine and he was bleeding. And he, along with his son and another house help, they took an auto to the hospital. They asked the police why auto, wouldn't they have a car or something? So they said that they are not aware at this point, but it's quite possible. So he was really bleeding then. So maybe they would have called someone and would have taken him down. They would have spotted an auto. And instead of waiting for one of the cars to come, they just took the first thing that, they found. And the auto driver took them to Lilavati hospital where he was treated upon. And thankfully there were no long-term injuries. His condition is stable. The doctor said he's recovered 100%. So as far as his health is concerned, I don't think there are any long-term impact.
Mr. Saif Ali Khan is doing excellent. and we made him walk. He can walk well. There's no problem. There's no much pain or any other symptoms. So looking at his parameters, his wounds and all the other injuries, he is safe to be shifted out of the ICU to a special room. Only thing what we have advised and the do's for him, that he has to take rest for some time because of the wounds on the back especially, which can have chances of infection. And
we just heard what Dr. Nitin Dange from the Leelavati Hospital had to say about Saif Ali Khan's condition. And Mohammed, from what we understand, the accused has now been arrested. So where was he found and how did it go down?
So, for around 48 hours, these guys could not lay their hands on him. And a lot of police teams, like around 30 to 40 police teams had been found, hundreds of policemen like this, the most talked about case anywhere you went to, like any cop you called across the city, they were working on this. I think the big break for them came in the form of a CCTV footage from a mobile shop in Dadar, which showed, so the two CCTV footages that they initially had, one of him entering and leaving the building and the other was some distance from the scene of crime. They found a footage in which he has changed his shirt. So earlier they just had these two footages. Later they found a footage in Dadar where he is seen around 9 a.m., which was around 7 hours after the attack. He is seen buying a mobile cover from a shop in the Kabutar Khana area of Dadar. But that came in handy in Dadar, where they kept tracking him from one camera to the other. So he had walked from the shop to his house in where he was staying on rent in Varli, Kolivada. As soon as they found that, which was yesterday, a team quickly went to the residence. They found a few others. They found that 5-6 people, laborers who used to stay there. He was one of them. They identified him as the person, who's captured in the footage. Finally, the police had a name. Police knew who this person was. They had his mobile number. Now, based on the mobile number, they found that his location was in Thane. All this is happening yesterday evening, which is Saturday evening. So they find his location in Thane. They ask his roommates, does he know anyone in Thane? The roommates tell him that there is a labor camp in Thane in Kasarvadoli and he may have gone there because he used to work in a bar in Thane till around a week back. The police teams, around 100 cops, then swooped down to Thane in that Reliance labor camp that in the Kasarvadoli area. And at that point of time, they realize that he has just fled from there. So they know that they are very close to him.
Right. So how did the police finally nab him?
Then Thane police, Mumbai police, all of them are looking in the adjacent areas and all of that. And luckily, one of the team spots, like there was a mangrove kind of a semi-forest kind of a thing over there. And amidst thick mangroves, this guy was lying down on the ground. So the police team almost gave up. They looked at the mangroves and it was night. So, they were using flashlights and all. And they looked at the mangroves, were about to go when they decided to kind of, search once more. And then his leg or his shirt got caught up in the flashlight. And then they realized as a cop went ahead, this guy started running. Then they surrounded him from all sides and placed him under arrest.
But Mohammed, why did it take the police so long to identify and look for the accused?
A few senior officers whom we spoke to, like Mumbai Police, Crime Branch is supposed to be one of the best investigating units in the country. And it was actually quite surprising for us and embarrassing for them that, they could not get this one guy for more than 2 days. What added insult to injury was the fact that it later came to light that the accused person, he was seen in the footage of Bandra railway station at around 7:38 a.m., which was like 6 hours after the incident. So basically for 6 hours, and this railway station is around 2 kilometers from their house. So for 6 hours, this guy who has, attacked a star is roaming around in the same area and the police were not able to get him. So, that was further embarrassing. Many say that because the cops did not share the information with the other cops, with the competition of trying to be the ones who solved the case, the kind of matter got out of hand. This guy then goes to Dadar. But all this police came to know later on. So initially, they just had the video of him climbing up the building. They had a CCTV footage. So while they had his face, they did not know who this person was. They circulated his images across WhatsApp groups to current officers working in the police force, former Mumbai police officers, nearby areas. Because if he was a history sheeter, at least some cop who would have arrested him would identify him. But in this case, very surprisingly, they did not get even one hit. So none of the cops identified him. His images were put out in the media. No citizen called the police saying that I know him. So in that sense, between 24 to 48 hours, even the cops were dumbfounded that how is it happening that this person whom no cops identify, no locals identify, I mean, where did he land from? How did he kind of enter this building? What was his beef with Saif Ali Khan? So, things were getting very complicated.
Right. And Mohammed, what do we know about this person who has been arrested?
As far as the accused is concerned, after it came to light, so initially he said his name was Vijay Das. Later, police came to know that his name was Mohammed Shariful, and he basically is from Bangladesh prima facie. So the political reactions have started where a lot of politicians, especially the ruling party politicians, have said that we need to act against Bangladeshis and, that they're creating a menace like illegal migrants. And, the political blame game, each one party blaming the other party for that has kind of started after it came to light that the accused is actually an illegal immigrant from Bangladesh. The cops claim that they have evidence which proves that he is a Bangladeshi national. He does not have documents to show that he is an Indian national. So they have added sections of the Passport Act as well. So this is the clarity that, we have at this point.
आरोपी का नाम मोहम्मद शरीफुल इस्लाम शहजाद है, एज 30 इयर्स। अभी तक की इन्वेस्टिगेशन में ये समझ में आया है कि ये आरोपी चोरी के इरादे से उस घर में उसने एंटर किया था और उस समय पर ये इंसिडेंस हुआ था। इस एक्यूज को कोर्ट में पेश किया जाएगा और पुलिस कस्टडी की रिक्वेस्ट की जाएगी और उसके बाद आगे का इन्वेस्टिगेशन।
We heard what the police had to say about the arrested accused. And as far as the reactions that came from the film industry are concerned, actor Junior NTR wrote on X, quote, "Shocked and saddened to hear about the attack on Saif sir, wishing and praying for his speedy recovery and good health," unquote. Film director Kunal Kohli wrote that it is a shocking and scary incident and that he is praying for Saif's speedy recovery. Actor Shahid Kapoor also said that it is a very shocking incident, especially in a city like Mumbai that is known for its safety.
We hope that Saif's health is better and we hope that he's feeling better. और I think हम सब बहुत ही शॉक थे जो हुआ उसके साथ इतनी पर्सनल स्पेस में बहुत ही मुश्किल चीज़ है अब्जॉर्ब करना मुंबई जैसे शहर में। यहाँ पे आई एम श्योर पुलिस पूरी कोशिश कर रही है, ऐसा होता नहीं है बॉम्बे। बहुत ही मुंबई सेफ शहर है। यहाँ पे आप प्राउडली कहते हैं कि 2 बजे 3 बजे भी अगर आपका कोई फैमिली मेंबर कोई लेडीज हो वो अगर रोड पर जाएं तो बहुत सेफ रहता है। तो बहुत ही शॉकिंग इंसिडेंट है एंड वी आर होपिंग दैट उनकी हेल्थ जल्दी रिकवर करे। वी आर होपिंग एंड प्रेइंग फॉर।
Actor Kartik Aaryan also acknowledged the incident and wished for Saif Ali Khan's speedy recovery.
It's shocking in a way ki what just happened and I hope he's recovering. I read that he's recovering and yeah, so and I pray for him and the family and I wish him the speedy recovery. And I don't know that this entire incident has actually shocked everyone.
And Mohammed, talking about safety in Mumbai, especially in its Bandra region, what kind of questions have been raised regarding this?
Yeah, so see, a number of things. Firstly, the first question was about the motive. Like, did this person, why was Saif Ali Khan, the target? The cops have said that initially he has told them that he had no idea that he was getting into Saif Ali Khan's house. He does not have a previous crime record and he had lost his job a week back. So he just thought that in Bandra, where his people live, he just got into a building hoping that he can enter one of the houses and, just get some money from there. Because even in Saif's house, his maid statement clearly says that he had demanded 1 crore. So the police are saying that at this point, he is saying that he was not aware it was Saif Ali Khan's house. So there was nothing that he picked out Saif as a target and it was just a case of robbery. There have been questions, one on safety in Bandra, because this is the third major incident in Bandra. There was firing outside actor Salman Khan's house in Bandra. Politician Baba Siddiqui, he was shot dead in Bandra, and this is the third case. Now, between Bandra to Andheri is where all your celebrities and, the who's who of Bollywood stay. So, questions have been raised that in such an area which should see a lot more patrolling, an area that especially has seen crime in the past, nothing has happened. So there have been questions raised on that.
And how do we see this case proceeding from here?
So see, as of now, it does appear that this person has acted on his own. There is no larger gang involved. So now that he's been arrested, I think police will be interested in, reconstructing the scene of crime. They will ask him how he entered the building, what happened, where he was, and, how did he manage to evade the police for this long? And just, check whether, although at this stage they are saying that he acted alone and there was no help from any side. So once his interrogation and once his investigation is over, the police will file a charge sheet in the case. So yeah, I mean, because it had there been a gang involved or something, they may have invoked the Makoka section. But in this case, the regular laws will apply and they'll file a charge sheet in it.
And next we talk about the Israel-Hamas ceasefire. After 15 months of a devastating war between Israel and Hamas, a ceasefire took effect on 19th January, marking a critical moment in a conflict that has reshaped West Asia. The agreement, brokered through months of diplomacy by Egypt, Qatar, and the United States, aimed to halt the bloodshed and initiate a release of hostages held by the Hamas in exchange for Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. However, the ceasefire was delayed by 3 hours after Israel vowed to keep fighting until it received the names of the hostages to be released by Hamas. Hamas posted the names on social media around 2 hours late. That appeared to pave the way for the start of the ceasefire. It blamed the delay in handing over the names on technical field reasons. Talking about the ceasefire between Hamas and Israel, US President Joe Biden said that this has been one of the toughest negotiations that he has been a part of.
And after so much pain, destruction, loss of life, today the guns in Gaza have gone silent. This was the deal that I outlined for the world back in May 31st. Many of you covered it at the time. It was endorsed overwhelmingly by folks around the world, including the UN Security Council, unanimously endorsed the deal. And developed in coordination with Egypt, Qatar, and Israel. I've worked in foreign policy for decades, and this is one of the toughest negotiations I've been part of. Many of you have followed these.
To learn how the ceasefire came about and what lies in the upcoming days, we have the Indian Express's diplomatic affairs editor Shubhajit Roy joining us. Shubhajit, can you give us details of the kind of destruction that has taken place in the Gaza Strip over the last 15 months?
So, as you remember that on October 7th of 2023, the Hamas group conducted terror attacks on Israelis in Israel. And at that point of time, they killed about 1,200 people and took about 250 people as hostages. And after that, the Israelis sort of started their military offensive with airstrikes and, ground offensive. And they believed to have killed more than 45,000 people. And much of Gaza City that one knew of has been destroyed in terms of civic infrastructure, buildings that have been razed to the ground. And thousands are expected to be buried under the rubble. Now, much of these casualties have impacted civilians, including women and children. According to the Israeli estimates, about 15,000 of them were Hamas combatants. So we can safely say about 2/3 of the victims were civilian casualties, which the Israelis in battle terms would qualify them as collateral damage, because they were being, at least that's what the Israelis say, that these civilians were being used as human shields by the Hamas group. And so that's what we have seen. Initially, the toll was restricted to, northern Gaza, and then it moved towards southern Gaza. And there was a humanitarian crisis because of, lack of food, lack of water, lack of medical supplies. Hospitals were also bombed. That was the situation when the ceasefire deal has been worked out.
Right. And for a conflict that has been going on for over a year, what led to the ceasefire agreement being accepted by both the sides?
Well, I think the important thing was that, the toll had really been disproportionate on the Palestinian side because of the military offensive by Israelis. And that was obviously provoked by Hamas when they attacked the Israelis on October 7th. But then there was a widespread criticism of the disproportionate force used by Israel in Gaza. in the war. The US administration tried to talk to the Israelis to stop killing or the civilians, the women, children. But the battle would go on, and the Israeli government, led by Benjamin Netanyahu, were determined to re-establish the deterrence that they thought that had been lost by the October 7th terror attack. So I think in the last few weeks of the Biden administration, they really worked hard with the Qataris and the Egyptians and the Saudis, and everything came together. Also, we have to remember that Hamas has been greatly depleted, greatly decimated by Israel in the war. Their senior commanders like Ismail Haniyeh and then Yahya Sinwar, they have been killed by the Israeli forces. So that weakened Hamas also.
And Shubhajit, can you elaborate on the kind of role that was played by Qatar, Egypt, and the United States as far as this ceasefire is concerned?
Well, obviously, all these sides tried to negotiate and come out with a deal which would satisfy both sides. And in the end, they worked out a plan where under the first phase of the ceasefire, so this phase started on Sunday, and 33 hostages are released over the next 6 weeks in exchange for hundreds of Palestinians imprisoned by Israel. And the remainder, including male soldiers, are to be released in a second phase that will be negotiated in the next few weeks again. And Hamas has said it will not release the remaining captives without a lasting ceasefire and a full Israeli withdrawal. Now we'll have to see that whether that happens.
And Shubhajit, can you tell us what the ceasefire agreement says?
Plan says that during phase 1, some 1,900 Palestinian prisoners are to be released in the first phase in exchange for 33 Israeli hostages, both alive and dead. And among the prisoners who are to be released, about 1,167 are residents of Gaza who are held by Israel, but were not involved in the October 7th, 2023 attacks by Hamas. All women and children under age 19 from Gaza held by Israel will be freed during this phase. All Palestinian prisoners who were convicted of deadly attacks will be exiled either to Gaza or abroad and barred from returning to Israel or the West Bank. In fact, some will be exiled for 3 years and others permanently, according to the plan. But key questions remain about the ceasefire. This is the second time ceasefire has been arrived at during the war. The last one didn't last. And Hamas, has agreed to free 3 female hostages on day 1 of the deal, 4 on day 7, and the remaining 26 over the following 5 weeks. So, Israel's Justice Ministry has published a list of more than 700 people who are to be freed in the deal's first phase. And also, during the first phase, Israeli troops are to pull back into a buffer zone about 1 kilometer wide inside Gaza along its borders with Israel. This move will allow displaced Palestinians to return to their homes, including in Gaza City and northern Gaza. As I said earlier, that with most of Gaza's population been driven to massive, squalid tent camps, now Palestinians are desperate to get back to their homes, although many destroyed or heavily damaged by Israel's military offensive. Now, this largely devastated territory is also expected to see a surge in humanitarian aid. So that is what the deal is.
And now that the ceasefire has been accepted, what is the current situation?
Well, the current situation is very fragile. We'll have to see whether both sides keep to their bargain, keep to their commitment of releasing the hostages, and Israelis and both Hamas both keep their word. And in terms of troop withdrawal also, we'll have to see how that plays out on the ground, because there's a lot of distrust between the two sides.
And Shubhajit, how do we see this impacting not just Gaza and Israel, but also the rest of the players involved in the region?
Well, I think the most important thing is that if peace and tranquility, stability returns to the region, because of if the ceasefire deal holds, then it's good news for India, good news for the region, good news for the world, because then people can go back to doing business. All these economic initiatives, connectivity, projects, plans, these ambitious plan of India, Middle East Europe economic corridor and other sort of such projects would be able to take off. But first thing first is peace has to be durable and sustainable for the long term. Unless that happens, those initiatives won't be able to take off in the region.
Even though the ceasefire has been accepted by both the sides, restoration of peace is still going to take some amount of time, right?
Yeah, it will take some time to happen because, as I said earlier, there is a trust deficit between the two sides, and that will take a lot of time to rebuild that trust.
And in the end, we talk about a fire that broke out at the Mahakumbh Mela. Yesterday, a massive fire broke out at the Mahakumbh Mela, engulfing around 20 tents. There was no report of any casualty. Prayagraj District Magistrate Ravindra Kumar Mandar said, quote, "The fire has been extinguished and there is no information about any casualty. The situation is under control." Unquote. Suspecting a cylinder blast may have caused the fire, the Mela administration removed all gas cylinders from the affected area to prevent further escalation. Senior Superintendent of Police Mahakumbh Mela Rajesh Dwivedi said that the cause of the fire would be determined through an inquiry. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, who was in Prayagraj yesterday, visited the affected area and took stock of the situation. Officials said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi also spoke to the Chief Minister and inquired about the fire incident. Around 4:30 p.m., large clouds of smoke were spotted in Sector 19 of the Kumbh Mela, one of the 24 sectors of the Mela ground. According to the police officers, the fire broke out at the Gita Press tent in Sector 19. It quickly spread and engulfed nearly 20 other tents. Fire brigade personnel, police and administrative teams quickly rushed to the spot and evacuated the area. It is alleged that the fire broke out while food was being prepared in one of the tents. Chief Fire Officer Kumbh Mela Pramod Sharma said, quote, "Around 20 tents got engulfed in the fire. 15 fire tenders were pressed into service to contain the blaze. Everyone was safely evacuated from the site." Unquote. The 45-day Mahakumbh, expected to draw around 40 crore pilgrims, began in Prayagraj on 13th January. It will conclude on 26th February. You were listening to Three Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Niharika Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.